Okay, we're back. We got a fresh cup of coffee. So, Copilot's telling us it's done with phase two. I'm looking through. The models look good. The service looks fine. I mean, I haven't looked at it in depth, but it looks like, it could work. Main is just setting up our stage and has some good error handling, and it's globalized, so that's good. And the API endpoints. We don't have any API endpoints. Let's see if that was part of our phase two. All right. Phase two. Models, services, tabs. Initializing the endpoint. Okay. So now it looks like we're going to actually create the tabs in phase three. So let's do that. And see if it gave us a suggestion. Phase two completion. Um, just trying to see if we need to run implement command, or can we just say proceed to phase three. Let's try that. So follow TDD workflow. That's test driven development. We write test first, then implement. Let me start by creating the test files. Test tab service. Get all. Yeah, I get test driven development, but if we don't have routes, how are you going to test it? Like we need HTTPX. That's fine. Okay. Unit test passed. Um, Now let's test the integration test. They should fail since the endpoint doesn't exist. Yes. Contract test fails as expected, 404. Now let's implement the get endpoint. Here we go. Now test that the endpoint exists. All right, so we have an endpoint now. Get tabs. That's going to get all tabs. We have get one tab. Yeah, no post yet. It's fine. So we created a test storage tabs test. I'm not sure what that is. It's a little concerning when things are created. I don't know what they are, but we'll figure out what they are. What is this? Contract. Test contract. I'm not a big fan of this test tabs list. I would rather have, you know, some tabs in my actual storage and then just flag this test. Like I'm fine with having a directory that has, some sample tabs, but we should be pulling out of the same place. Yes. Let's simplify this. We're trying to create something simple, and now we've got a lot of crazy things. So, well, not a lot of crazy things, but I would say, you know, that's one flaw, maybe of running in agent mode that I've seen is it creates a lot of things like according to its own best practice. And sometimes if I'm looking for something streamlined, something easy to support, it's creating additional complexity. All right, shall I proceed with this refactoring? Would you like me to implement this approach instead? It's the FastAPI best practice and will. Instead of a flag, I recommend we use a dependency injection through FastAPI's app state, which is cleaner and more testable. Keep production storage clean, no test tab and mixed in. Use FastAPI's app dependency overrides. Simpler fixtures, no monkey patching needed. Um, that's also not what I want. Let me stop this. There we go. So let's keep it simple. I mean, all of that I think might be interesting to see just how you can interact with Copilot, and I think a lot of folks feel like they're kind of they just need to follow whatever Copilot says, and don't be afraid to just stop it and say no. We're going this way. Get on board. I mean, we can talk all day about testing best practices. Where should your test data be? And you know, there's so many ways to do it. It all depends on which QA expert you ask. So that's not what we're trying to do today. We're trying to sprint towards a Swagger file, and it's been less of a sprint, kind of a. It's still a run, I would say. I think we're still jogging at least. This is much faster than developing all of this on my own. Yeah, so all this test driven development, this is good. And I see this regularly with Spec Kit, but Like the amount of things it has to fix once we start testing is often concerning to me. I don't understand why it didn't get a lot of this correct the first time. God, I was using PowerShell again. Okay, so it finally got there. Okay, run all tests again. 20 passed. Fail required test coverage of 80% not reached. Got 77 that time. A little bit better. Okay, so now it's just lowering the threshold to pass. It's one way to do it. Okay, so we'll dive into, the test scripts that it created and everything a little bit later. Okay, now it's checking the linting. Five out of 10. It's getting better. So it's actually going and, changing the code to be more best practice based on linting. And it's saying it's done now. It ran all the tests. It didn't create any tabs, which I thought it would. And it only has the get. Okay, and we'll keep all this. You can now easily extend this to post endpoints and other features. Foundational. So I know how to do this, but I just want to see if what it's gonna do. Okay. Running it on port 8000. So I can just say run this, but it'll take over my terminal. Probably fun. Looking for that source command. Application is started up, so we can go to this. Let's try it out. And there you go. Here's our Swagger or Open API JSON. Get health. That's interesting. That's nice. Addition. Try it out. Execute. Status okay. Server is healthy. All right. Get tabs. Get all tabs. Try it out. We have no tabs. That is correct. And obviously we can't get a tab by ID. There are none. World 4. All right, awesome. So we have a server, we have some endpoints. It's running, it's working. So let's proceed with phase 4. Phase 4. Phase 4 is going to focus on the post endpoint. Should go through the test-driven development piece first, create the test, PyTest files and we would expect this to get updated. Test tabs create. We have storage in source and storage outside of source. Interesting. So still not perfect, obviously. At least this time I remembered I'm using PowerShell. 13 failed. 10 failed. That's what we wanted, apparently, because there's no endpoint. Now it's going to create the endpoint. The post tabs. Call the tab service, create. So the tab service in like a real production environment, the way I would do it is to have, I would have, a data abstraction layer where I would create something similar to this that would allow me to swap out the backend database if I needed to. I don't love this. The handler, let's update the test to expect a 400 instead of 422. If 422 is the right code, we should change the code, or we should change it to expect a 422. We should change the handler to return a 422. Not too concerned about that though. Now we're doing a pilot. So this is pretty great, and to be able to run commands directly in the terminal, have it read it, and act on it is really helpful. Initially, um, I wasn't trusting it to run commands, so I would copy the command, run it, and then copy the result and paste it back, and that took up a lot of time. I don't know what it's doing now. Might need some help. The score, the linting score. I'm not super concerned with the linting score. I mean, as long as it's not introducing a security risk. If we have a comment where it's not supposed to be, I don't care that much. I didn't even notice this before. We have a little to do. We're creating unit test. Seems like we're still doing that. Oh yeah, we're in PowerShell. 10 out of 10. I did not see that coming. I feel like I'm standing over the shoulder of like a mid-level like a mid-level engineer. I'm like, "Come on, guy. You got this. You can pass the test." But my expectations are not always high. No issues found, and it's headed towards the completion. So, you know, uh, what I would have done probably in order to test this was I would have just created this post route that would have taken me a few minutes, and then I would just restart the server. But it is good to have these tests so when we make bigger changes, we can just run all the tests and the whole thing's automated instead of, going to actually going to the open API endpoint and testing stuff yourself. Creating this project status now, it's kind of strange. It's just kind of coming up with like this standard and dropping these documents in the root of my project. Don't like I would have expected it to be updating these tasks, which phase 3 is not checked off. Phase 4 is not checked off. So instead of, to me, it should be using this plan and this task and then adding some kind of documentation, output documentation folder here. It's just doing this now. And now it's this time it gave me a plan, a summary, and a completion and a status. For phase 1, I just got a completion. So it kind of makes things up on its own. Okay. Now it's going to create one final checklist document. Why? Documents created. Created a lot of documentation. More documentation than any engineer has ever created for one phase of work. That's for sure. Okay. We're gonna keep it. We're gonna probably move all this somewhere, but I'm also gonna say, let's not forget to update that. And I'll just make sure it knows which one I'm talking about. All right, so this should have updated and automatically restarted. Even going with the reload flag will automatically restart. So now let's check out our, I just call it a swagger. Back to docs. And now you see we have a post. So I'll get all tabs again just to see we have nothing. And then go to a post here. Okay. Wonderwall. Perfect. Post seems to have worked. Well, let's go back here. And you see it, ID 1. So now we should be able to get ID 1. And there it is. Let's add one more. Make sure the IDs are getting generated and the arrays and everything works fine. That's the get. Here's the post. All right, so artist, Beatles, and all you need is love. I know that's not right. Okay. Get all. That worked. Now let's get the second one. And that works also. So let's see, what's it trying to do now? Trying to grab it. Not sure why I can't just read it. But I'll add it back in there. Neat. Wants me to just echo all of that. I'll do it. This is actually wrong. Phase 4 was post. It says it updated this. Marked all those as complete. But oh, those are the user stories. Where's phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Oh, phase 4. Phase 5. Create new music tab. Phase 6, polish and cross-cutting concerns. And that would be the end. So let's just keep that. I didn't mark phase 4 as complete. I don't know why. We'll have it do that, and then I will let it do that, and I'll come back later to do the polishing phase.